Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Kane, where we discuss all things UAP disclosure and all things To the Stars related. For those that are unaware, To the Stars is an award-winning vertically integrated entertainment company that creates original content informed by our experiences working with prestigious government agencies and academic institutions, told across film, television, publishing, and merchandise, with the goal of turning the world onto new ideas and new possibilities. So in today's episode, I'm going to travel to the National Museum of Australia and check out the Book of the Dead exhibition. But before we do that, let's take a look at Secret Machines Gods, one of To the Stars publishings. So we're going to look at chapter 5 of Secret Machines Gods and dive into the Egyptian perspective of the soul. So first off, I'm going to read a few paragraphs and then we're going to go to the museum and check out the Book of the Dead. It says, "We have already discussed the stairway to heaven and the practice of Merkaba mysticism. We know that the ziggurat symbolized just such a stairway in ancient Babylon and Sumer, but while the Jewish and Babylonian systems were detailed and specific in concept, nothing really compares to the Egyptian sources such as the pyramid text, the coffin text, and the famous Book of Going Forth by Day, otherwise known as the Book of the Dead. In the Egyptian system, the astronomical, biological, and psychological elements are all carefully integrated into a single methodology for achieving immortality, which is precisely how alchemy was structured. By going back and looking at these Egyptian documents with a perspective of a potential extraterrestrial or non-terrestrial context, we suddenly will begin to understand the real meaning behind them. As Dr. Rundle Clark said in the quote that begins this chapter, when they mythologized, they knew what they were doing." So we've got this company made up of intelligence officials saying we're going to put you onto new ideas, and then their non-fiction book basically says the Egyptians knew what they were doing. Like it says it. When they mythologized, they knew what they were doing. So one of the main themes that stands out to me is the idea that there is another realm other than our earthly plane where we live our lives as humans. It says, "The texts that were painted on the walls of the tombs and written on papyrus," I don't actually know how to pronounce that, "in such elaborate execution and vibrant colors and in such excruciating detail and specificity were not the superstitious ramblings of corrupt priests or gullible nobles. Verse after verse of these texts are filled with references to deities, symbols, actions, levels of awareness, astronomical data, obstacles, gateways, personalities, both good and evil, all tied together in a single insistent narrative describing the passage of a soul from the moment of the death of the body to its final apotheosis," whatever that word is. A genuine apotheosis, I think that's it, the becoming of a god, of an Osiris, and this state of immortality, of survival of the identity that is neither life nor death as we know it, takes place elsewhere other than Earth. So, is there something waiting for us when we pass away? I don't know. So I've got the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and we're going to look at one passage that stands out to me. It's on page 30 for anyone that has the book. And I'll put a link in the description for anyone that wants to get it. It says, "If this writing be known upon earth, and this chapter be done into writing upon his coffin, he shall come forth by day in all the forms of existence which he desireth, and he shall enter into his place and shall not be rejected. Bread and ale and meat shall be given unto Osiris, the scribe Ani, upon the altar of Osiris. He shall enter into the fields of Aru in peace, to learn the bidding of him who dwelleth in Tatu. There shall wheat and barley be given unto him. There shall he flourish as he did upon earth, and he shall do whatsoever pleaseth him, even as the gods who are in the underworld, for everlasting millions of ages, world without end. Is this where the concept of heaven come from? I'm not sure. We're learning from people like David Grush that this UFO phenomenon, some of it is from higher realms that projects into our reality. So I'm just going to wrap this up with a quick sample, and we're going to check out this exhibition, and we're going to see some real life mummies. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to film the mummies, but I'm going to film this exhibition and see what we can learn.
Easiest example is like us casting a shadow on a sidewalk, right? 3-dimensional object, 2D shadow on a sidewalk. If you lived in 2-dimensional space, flatland, you'd be tripped out. What the fuck am I seeing? But they just don't know that it's really just a person in higher dimensional space. So is some of the, I mean, obviously we have physical material that's in 3-dimensional space that we've recovered, but at least maybe some of the phenomenon is really operating in higher spatial dimensions, but is either being projected or quasi-projected into our 3D plus time space, which is really trippy to think about, but we literally do it on a day-to-day basis, like casting shadows. So, and that might be some of what we're seeing too, but I mean...
So here I am outside the National Museum of Australia. And when I go in, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I'm going to try to look for what's called the Adzi, which is referenced in Secret Machines as symbolic for the Big Dipper, which is the seat of immortality in many cultures. We're going to look for the Ka and the Ba in the Ankh, which is reference to the soul and the body and a few other things that I don't completely understand, but yeah, I only quoted a few things from chapter 5, and I encourage anyone to have a serious read of it. So I'm not allowed to photograph the mummies, unfortunately. Book of the Dead. A collection of spells was developed to safeguard a dead person's passage to the afterlife. These were known to the Egyptians as the spells for going forth by day, because some of these helped a person's ba or soul visit the world of the living during daylight. Where the UFOs come from. The text guards him against large and venomous animals he encounters. Possibly the UFO phenomenon. Around 200 spells make up the so-called Book of the Dead. They were placed on or near the body of the deceased to take with them on the journey to the afterlife. Priests are performing a ceremony called the opening of the mouth. Now, according to Peter Levenda, this is a form of celestial ascent. And the Taoists have perfected this so we can achieve it in our lifetime. This tapestry shows the weighing of the heart ceremony, which is mentioned in Secret Machines. opposite of the most dangerous of Egypt's animals. The person's heart was found to be heavier than the feather of truth. It was devoured by the demon Ammon, and the soul would vanish into nothing. Is this a metaphor for consciousness, perhaps? Or is this what waits us when we die? Priests are performing a ceremony called the opening of the mouth. Now, according to Peter Levenda, this is a form of celestial ascent. And the Taoists have perfected this so we can achieve it in our lifetime. Here's what I was looking for. The Egyptians believed that after death an individual could continue to exist through different manifestations. The Ka was a life force that stayed in the tomb. The Ba, a powerful manifestation of the deceased depicted as a bird with a human head, was more mobile. It could travel to the world of the living but had to return to the tomb each night to reunite with the body. Is that consciousness? Some sources also mention the shadow, which represents a likeness of the person. It was believed that the soul of a person or a god could temporarily inhabit a statue. Some things that Peter Levenda has covered in his books. In the underworld. Very cool artwork inside the coffin. Obviously they did this for a reason. And there is the Ka or the Ba, I can't remember what it's called. The soul. Very cool. Also a little bit trippy. Maybe these people knew more than we do of what awaits us. Pretty small coffin. Maybe for a young girl. Mummification required skill and precision. The brain is removed through the nostrils using a hook. Unfortunately, no photography of the mummies, so it's a bit of information. That was like insanely cool and freaky, and I don't know what to think. I don't think that they would have put that much effort into this if it wasn't like somewhat close to the truth. Just the detail on the coffins and how much effort went into it, like it would have been so hard. They wouldn't have wasted their time building giant pyramids and stuff. And now that To the Stars is like pointing us in this direction, it's a lot of food for thought, and I hope that some of you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Thank you.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Hypothetically, what if they figure out that that we're immortal?